It's the early years of the Soviet Union, a time of massive change. Stalin dreams of a modern industrial nation, and he wants it fast. But to do it, he needs fuel. Lenin once said that coal is the bread of industry, and during the Soviet Union, the miner was held up as a shining example of what a worker should be, tireless and ready to sacrifice himself for his country. And the hardest workers of all were here in Siberia's Kuzbas region, taking the coal that would make everything from steel to records. Deep in Siberia, the Kuzbas is estimated to contain more than 700 billion tons of coal, and the mines employ more than 100,000 people. I wanted to meet these men and find out just what it takes to work in Russia's coal basin. And the first lesson they all learn is how to keep themselves safe.
The 667M life support system is designed to protect the lungs from gases in the event of a fire, explosion, or cave-in. If you have smoke around you, you take the cap off and drop it. Put the mouthpiece in your mouth, put on the nose clip, and exhale. Pull the belt up and go slow.
And once I'd had my briefing, it was time to head on down. Well, it's coming up to 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm about to join the day shift at the Komsomolets pit. Now that should be 6 hours in the longest shaft in the entire country, where they take out almost 200,000 tons of coal every month. The machine carrying us was like something out of a science fiction movie. A massive metal snake suspended on a monorail and slithering its way 300 meters beneath the earth. And the pit itself is equally ominous. An almost endless tunnel, dimly lit and with its black walls covered with a choking white dust. The ceiling is held in place with hydraulic beams, and each miner shuffles beneath them as they get into position behind the massive harvesting machine. And it's this multi-million-dollar cutting tool that allows them to extract 1,000 tons of coal every 40 minutes.
The machine's operated by two men, each using control panels. One on the right, one on the left. Quite frankly, colleges don't produce good professionals. The safety precautions described in the books and regulations really aren't helpful. You only gain experience by working as a team. The newcomers, they watch the old miners to learn how to do the job.
But that doesn't mean the miners are just thrown in at the deep end. The man operating the harvester literally has the lives of his colleagues in his hands. And each new recruit needs up to a year of training.
Look, you've made a mistake. You have to adjust the support leg before you can start extracting the coal.
If you don't make the grade, it's back to the drawing board. But there's much more than just classroom training involved. Each miner needs to show they know what to do if an emergency really does happen. You've got to be physically fit enough to get others out under the toughest of circumstances. Each new recruit has to undergo a grueling workout in a special sauna. It's ridiculously hot, and it's a nightmare. This would be tough in a normal gym, let alone in this heat. The beeps just keep coming, and I was starting to feel a little dizzy. If this was a real situation, I might be expected to put out a fire, so you have to be able to stand the humidity. But once my pulse hit 150, I was told to take a break, on doctor's orders. And once I'd cooled down a bit, it was back to the grindstone. One. The miners have to do 300 of those. I think I've managed about half. And I'm feeling quite proud of myself. But not to mention, a little bit sick right now. Oh dear. That is hard work. Fortunately, conveyors and heavy machinery take most of the weight in today's modern pits. But the next day, I saw for myself that they can also break down.
Okay, next time we'll drop everything and do as you say.
Good. Everything needs to be in order.
Дежурный по шахте.
The power's out. Okay, let me check.
Открыты шлюзовые двери.
The circuits are open. Wait for 5 minutes, I'll get the power to you.
Get to it.
But it doesn't take long to get things going again. And that makes everyone happy. Except me, perhaps. Now, this is a pretty dirty job at the best of times. But the thing about being the new guy is you get to do everything that no one else wants to do as well. What a glamorous life I lead. There's no doubt that the miner's lot is better than it used to be. The men work less hours for more pay, and the times when you had to put in a full day of back-breaking labour are long gone. But some of the problems they face now are as real as they were more than a century ago. Now, back when these colonists first arrived here, you couldn't imagine a more difficult or dangerous profession than mining. As well as having to dig out all the coal by hand, there was always the ever-present threat that the roof might just collapse on your head. And that's where these pine supports came in. They would actually start to squeak if the pressure became too much, so at least there was a chance that the miners would hear and be able to get out. If that wasn't bad enough, they also had to worry about the build-up of methane gas because of the poor ventilation. And then, along would come the man with possibly the worst job in the entire world, dressed head to toe in wet goat hide and carrying a lit torch. He'd literally come up, chuck it into the gas-filled tunnel, and boom.
The explosion you've just seen was the result of safety regulations being violated. The supports weren't in line with safety regulations. A mass of coal caved in, hit the cable, and ripped open the insulation. The explosion was caused by an electric impulse from a faulty ventilator. The electrical equipment in the shaft was also faulty. That's how it happened.
Methane buildup has to be constantly monitored, and miners now have a way to do it on the ground. So this little gadget is a very important piece of safety equipment. Now everyone has one because it measures 3 different gases that are present in the air. The amount of oxygen, the amount of carbon monoxide, and the amount of methane. So if the amount of methane, for instance, reaches more than 1%, then lights will flash, alarms will sound, and everyone will know that they need to clear out. The Komsomolets shaft also has technology that tells them where their miners are at any time.
Now there are 2 guys down in the pit and 90 above ground. With a simple click of the mouse, you can see the name of everyone on shift today and where they all are right now.
It's another vital precaution, because you never know exactly when an accident can happen.
Lava 3, Lava 3.
Unit 3 duty manager, go ahead.
Cave in, Sector 6, decopy.
Cave in, understood.
While we're on the move, number 1, maintain contact with base. Number 2, monitor CO levels. Number 3, set up communications. And 4, take temperature readings every 5 minutes. If you find anyone, help them.
Everybody keep still. Stand by to follow.
Our task today concerns both tactical and technical training. It will involve 2 units. Our unit is at the underground base. We are to keep in touch with the 2nd unit. If the 2nd unit needs help, we are duty-bound to give it.
Rescue unit, with me.
The search unit is currently moving along Route 11. No injured people have been found so far. If it turns out there is gas and too much smoke, then the men will navigate further with the help of ropes tethering them together in a line. This method will assist them in the operation.
Check everything. Nobody here. Careful. There's an obstacle on your right.
Understood. Be careful.
Unit halt. There's an injured man here.
We found an injured man under the planks.
Oh, we're glad to see you.
Pulse is okay. He's breathing.
He's conscious. He's breathing. Bring him oxygen.
I can't see any obvious injuries. Wait, his leg's broken.
Oh, it's not a moment too soon.
Pulse is okay. He's breathing.
Get the mask on him.
This will help him breathe. Blood pressure is okay. Bring the stretcher here.
Let's get the splint on him.
It's a sad fact that coal mining is still one of the world's most dangerous professions. Every 1 million tons of Kuzbass coal is estimated to cost 3 to 4 lives.
We got you. There's a pulse. He's breathing.
We must be responsible not only for the people we are searching for, but also for ourselves. There have been cases when the rescuers didn't come back.
Everything okay? The injured man is then taken to hospital.
You know in your heart that it's a training exercise, but when the dust starts flying and the smoke comes in, it's actually very frightening. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to go through that for real. Thank God there are guys like this that do the job that they do.
The Kuzbass region has some of the best trained rescue rangers in the country, and they're ready to go at a moment's notice. The job can be trying, but it has its rewards.
Once, they called us in to search a central mine shaft. but it caved in. We spent about 12 hours digging the men out. To begin with, we drilled a small hole to give them food and water. All 3 of them survived. It turned out they were my former colleagues. We used to work together in the mine. They were lucky. The whole thing collapsed and was closed off moments after we pulled them all out. We were only just in time.
But tragedies like the Raspadska mine explosion, which killed 66 people back in 2010, are still very fresh in the memory. Pavel feels there are still certain private companies who put money before safety.
Normal safety procedures were ignored. They'd even tied rags over the sensors to disable them. We've had many investigations, but there's no money. But I don't know who's going to invest money here.
I went to see some of the processes that they're working on at Kemerova's new clean coal laboratory. But the man in charge says they still have a long way to go.
I dealing with coal science during 40 years, and I named this coal like big black sphinx. Big because it's million tons, black because it's color of coal, and sphinx because we don't know so far what is it.
Whether you're researching it or digging it out of the rock, coal is ever present in the Kuzbass region. And if you've not had enough of it at work, you can even grab a bite to eat in a restaurant that's devoted to it.
Good evening. For your safety, please take this hard hat. You'll get a sense of the atmosphere in the coal mine. Let me take you to your table.
And unsurprisingly, this local eatery has a very miner-friendly menu.
Sir, your beef tongue salad with coal dust.
Every minute I spend in the coal mine is a real treat for me.
But be warned, the regulars can be pretty talkative.
Look, mate, I'm sure that's all fascinating stuff, but you know, I am trying to eat here. It's mine.
Still, there are a few house specialties which probably didn't make it into the lunch boxes of the miners of old.
Hey! I'm a hard-working guy.
Flaming strawberries and ice cream. Well, I'd say it's a dessert that's worth doing a shift in the pit for.
Hey, fancy a drink?
Well, all right then. Twist my arm.
Our bar's special cocktail, the Kevin.
Там на шахте угольной паренька приметили, руку дружбы подали, повели с собой. Да вот,
I don't know the rest of the words, though.
с собой.
My pal Stepanich might have been in no hurry to get back to the pit, but I had a date with one of the most experienced miners in the entire Komsomolets company.
James, let's go.
Over the past 2 decades, Mikhail has seen and done it all, and he's been joined by his son Alexander, a pattern that's been repeated in these mines for generations.
I've been working here for 23 years. We now have modern equipment and people have changed a lot too. The bosses have become very demanding. Safety measures are much more strictly enforced. All that's resulted in increased production.
But fewer and fewer men seem to regard it as a job for life.
Out of every 10 who are hired, only 2 or 3 will stay. And those who do are very hard-working. If the bosses see anyone being lazy, they'll be forced out.
Down here, you have to love your job, and you have to work hard, because if that's not your attitude, then you really can't work as a team.
And Alexander is not Mikhail's only son preparing for life down the pit. His brother Alexei will be graduating from Mining Vocational College next year. And even 6-year-old Sergei seems destined for the family business.
What's your favorite toy? That one. Oh, look what he chose. He says it's his favorite now, but let's see when he grows up. He's too little now and doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's playing with that hard hat now. He likes it. There's no escaping the coal mine. You can't get away. The only thing we have here are mines.
If he does go into the mines, Sergei will help keep the coal coming and the conveyors rolling. 24 hours a day, production here never stops. So behind me you can finally see the fruits of our labours. This huge pile of coal has just been purified after coming out of the pit, and now it's ready for its long journey to the steel factories. Almost all of the region's low ash and low sulfur bituminous coal ends up in its metal plants, where it's transformed into this stuff. And oh my God, is it hot! It's heated up to over 1,000 degrees for more than 20 hours and turned into coke, one of the primary ingredients in pig iron. And I tell you what, you really do not want to be getting this close to it. Now, I just want to give you a quick and easy recipe to make your own steel. First, get hold of a few nice chunks of scrap metal. Then, pour in a decent quantity of pig iron. Then, add a quick burst of pure oxygen, turn up the heat, and mix it all together in a big bowl. Now, once your steel's come out of the oven, it's time to slice it into some nice, manageable chunks. Then, just leave to cool for a few hours, and you're ready to add the finishing touches. But not all of the Kuzbass's fuel ends up on the fires. One man has a far more creative use for it. Igor Smirnov is the Kuzbass's only coal sculptor.
When you carve a piece of coal, sometimes it gives you a clue about what it's meant to be. It's a very beautiful material. When I go to exhibitions, coal miners sometimes come up to me. They've been working in pits for ages. They look at one of my pieces, and I can almost see tears in their eyes when they see what can be made from a lump of coal, and that it's not all just destined for the furnace. When I cut it, I know that this is the product of a coal miner's hard work, maybe even of lives lost. That's why people appreciate it.
Igor coats the coal with a special solvent and uses a razor to prevent it from shattering. And the results are quite astounding.
Yeah, and it's finished.
Wow. You wouldn't believe it's possible to make such a beautiful thing out of something so brittle and difficult. But apparently, in the beginning, Neither did Igor, because he only started working with coal when his friend bet him that he couldn't make a freestanding sculpture out of it. Well, I hope he didn't put too much money on that. There's no getting away from the fact that coal and money will always go hand in hand in the Kuzbass region, and that this multi-billion-dollar business will always be dangerous. But it's the glue which binds the people together. It's the heart of their community. And with new technologies being developed to make life safer for the miners and more productive for their employees, there's still a pioneering spirit in this cold corner of Siberia, and still light down in the darkness.